Grace Gospel Home Educators, and I will be performing an excerpt cut from Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. Lady Catherine de Bourgh entered the room with an air more than usually ungracious, made no other reply to Elizabeth's salutation than a slight inclination of the head, and sat down without saying a word. After sitting for a moment in silence, she said very stiffly to Elizabeth, "I hope you are well, Miss Bennet. I saw a prettyish kind of a little wilderness on one side of your lawn. I should be glad to take a turn in it if you will favor me with your company." Elizabeth obeyed, and running into her own room for her parasol, attended her noble guests downstairs. They proceeded in silence along the gravel walk that led to the copse. Elizabeth was determined to make no effort for conversation with a woman who was now more than usually insolent and disagreeable. As soon as they entered the copse, Lady Catherine began in the following manner. "You can be at no loss, Miss Bennet, to understand the reason of my journey hither. Your own heart, your own conscience must tell you why I come." "Indeed, you are mistaken, madame. I have not been at all able to account for the honor of seeing you here." "Miss Bennet, you ought to know I am not to be trifled with. But, however insincere you may choose to be, you shall not find me so. My character has ever been celebrated for its sincerity and frankness, and in a cause of such moment as this, I shall certainly not depart from it. A report of a most alarming nature reached me 2 days ago. I was told that not only your sister was on the point of being most advantageously married, but that you, that Miss Elizabeth Bennet, would in all likelihood be soon afterwards united to my nephew, my own nephew, Mr. Darcy. Though I know it must be a scandalous falsehood, I instantly resolved on setting off for this place, that I might make my sentiments known to you. If you believed it impossible to be true, I wonder you took the trouble of coming so far. What could your ladyship oppose by it? At once, to insist upon having such a report universally contradicted. Your coming to Longbourn to see me and my family will be rather a confirmation of it, if indeed such a report is in existence. If! Do you then pretend to be ignorant of it? Has it not been industriously circulated by yourselves? Do you not know that such a report is spread abroad?" "I never heard that it was." "And can you likewise declare that there is no foundation for it?" "I do not pretend to possess equal frankness with your ladyship. You may ask questions which I shall not choose to answer." "This is not to be borne. Miss Bennet, I insist on being satisfied. Has my nephew made you an offer of marriage?" "Your ladyship has declared it impossible." "It ought to be so, it must be so, while he retains the use of his reason. But your arts and allurements may, in a moment of infatuation, made him forget what he owes to himself and to all his family. You may have drawn him in. If I have, I shall be the last person to confess it. Miss Bennet, do you know who I am? I am almost the nearest relation he has in the world, and am entitled to know all his dearest concerns. But you are not entitled to know mine, nor will such behavior as this ever induce me to be explicit. Let me be rightly understood. This match to which you have the presumption to aspire can never take place. Mr. Darcy is engaged to my daughter. Now what have you to say?" "Only this, that if he is so, you can have no reason to suppose he will make an offer to me. The engagement between them is of a peculiar kind. From their infancy they have been intended for each other, while in their cradles we planned the union. And now, when the wishes of both sisters would be accomplished in their marriage, to be prevented by a young woman of inferior birth, of no importance to the world, and wholly unallied to the family. Are you lost to every feeling of propriety and delicacy? Have you not heard me say that from his earliest hours he was destined for his cousin?" "Yes, and I had heard it before. But what is that to me? If there is no other objection to my marrying your nephew, I shall certainly not be kept from it by knowing that his mother and aunt wished him to marry Miss de Bourgh. If Mr. Darcy is neither by honor nor inclination confined to his cousin, why is not he to make another choice? They are destined for each other by the voice of the member of every household. And what is to divide them? The upstart pretensions of a young woman without family connections or fortune. Is this to be endured? It shall not be. If you were sensible of your own good, you would not wish to quit the sphere in which you have been brought up. In marrying your nephew, I should not consider myself as quitting that sphere. He is a gentleman, I am a gentleman's daughter. So far we are equal. But who was your mother? Who are your uncles and aunts? Do not imagine me ignorant of their condition. Whatever my connections may be, if your nephew does not object to them, they can be nothing to you. Tell me once and for all, are you engaged to him? I am not. And will you promise me never to enter into such an engagement? I will make no promise of the kind. Miss Bennet, I am shocked and astonished. I had hoped to find a more reasonable young woman. But do not deceive yourself into a belief that I will ever recede. I shall not go away till you have given me the assurance I require. And I certainly never shall give it. I am not to be intimidated into anything so wholly unreasonable. I must beg, therefore, to be importuned no further on the subject. Not so hasty, if you please. I have by no means done. To all the objections I have already urged, I have still another to add. I am no stranger to the particulars of your youngest sister's infamous elopement. I know it all. That the young man's marrying her was a patched-up business, at the expense of your father and uncles. And is such a girl to be my nephew's sister? Is her husband, the son of his late father's steward, to be his brother? Heaven and earth, of what are you thinking? Are the shades of Pemberley to be thus polluted? You can now have nothing further to say. You have insulted me in every possible method. I must beg to return to the house. You have no regard, then, for the honor and credit of my nephew. Unfeeling, selfish girl. You are then resolved to have him? I am only resolved to act in that manner which will, in my own opinion, constitute my happiness without reference to you or to any person so wholly unconnected with me. And this is your real opinion? This is your final resolve? Very well. I shall now know how to act. Do not imagine, Miss Bennet, that your ambition will ever be gratified. In this manner, Lady Catherine talked on, till they were at the door of the carriage, when turning hastily round, she added, I take no leave of you, Miss Bennet. I send no compliments to your mother. You deserve no such attention. I am most seriously displeased